If you've been following my channel, you'll know that we've been building a rustic mountain cabin on our property in Kentucky. I wanted to go over the process so far so you can see where we're at with this build. Like many of you, it has always been my dream to own a piece of property and build a cabin in the woods. Finally, after years of hard work and numerous stays in Airbnbs, we settled on an area and purchased some land in eastern Kentucky. We bought just under 90 acres and plan to build a few cabins on it, one for us and some that we can rent as a source of income. When we bought the property, it was nothing but a thick jungle, and a lot of it's pretty steep. I was talking to the realtor that we purchased the property through, and I asked him if he knew someone that could clear the land. He told me that was what he did when he wasn't selling properties. And I thought, man, that was really convenient. He then told me later, it's not an accident that he does both. But he was able to take a dozer and put a road into the middle of the property and clear us a nice spot where it was fairly level for us to build the first cabin. Back home, we got our camp together, I'll call it, which mostly consisted of my camper, but some tools and things like that we needed to get started, some basic accommodations, folding tables, things like that, to set up a base camp. We hauled them down there to Kentucky, and we got started. As soon as we got down there, we knew we needed a place to store the rest of our equipment. So we opted for a shipping container. It was something I could purchase, place, and put things in right away. I also built an outhouse with a rainwater shower. I did 2 videos on that as well. Our first few trips were productive. We got the concrete in, we were able to frame the cabin deck, and frame and stand up the walls. So with winter setting in and a few snafus getting our sawmill lumber for the roof rafters and decking, things started to slow a little bit. One thing I didn't account for is how cold it gets in southeastern Kentucky. We live about 10 hours north, so I thought there would be a drastic difference in the winter. And in some months there are, and I would say the average overall Kentucky is much warmer. But after a few mornings of waking up in single digits with the camper doors frozen shut, we started to think maybe we didn't plan appropriately. With the winter days being much shorter, we spent a lot of time in the dark around a campfire trying to stay warm, or huddled in the cab of my truck watching Netflix on an iPhone. It's about 25 degrees out, feels like 2. There's no heater in my little camper because I couldn't find the controller for it. And I woke up with frost all over the inside of the walls. Eventually we got the lumber we needed and we were able to finish framing the roof, put the windows in, and dry in the roof decking with the ice and water shield. This gave us a dry place to keep our tools so we didn't have to pack them up at night and get them out every morning. That was a huge help. It also protected the interior of the cabin from the elements, so we didn't have to shovel the floor out every time it snowed either. So far, we had just been driving up and down a dirt road. But in the winter, that road turned to mud. And with the telehandler I rented to help us stand up the walls, it left some pretty big ruts and made the road to where we couldn't get in with trucks and trailers. We wound up having to pack all of our material in with ATVs and little wagons. We brought enough material back to get the roof finished, as well as the front and back porch and the auxiliary cabin, I call it. After a lot of sliding around in the mud, some muddy material we had to clean off, broken four-wheelers and wagons, we finally found a guy that could fix the road for us. Jamie came in with his equipment and was able to shape the road so it got proper drainage and put some gravel down, so once again we could drive in there with the trucks and trailers. That really added to the efficiency of the build. With the short days of winter behind us, we had a lot more daylight to get things done. We finished up the structure of the house, the front and the back porches. It was nice to have a roof on the cabin, so in the event of bad weather, which seems to happen fairly often in Kentucky, we could turn to indoor projects to stay dry. Once we started working on the inside, it was quickly apparent that the amount of things we were storing in the cabin made it very hard to work. So soon we would have to pull everything out of there and we had no place to put it. Our little shipping container was bursting at the seams, and I wanted to keep my shiny new tractor in there as well. So we decided we should build some sort of building, a shed if you will, nothing elaborate, but something we could keep tools and equipment in addition to the shipping container, so when it was time to pull everything out of the cabin, we had a place to do that. We loaded a bunch of logs in Kentucky, hauled them back to Illinois, put them on a friend's sawmill. We prefabbed the shed in my shop here in Illinois, hauled it back to Kentucky, stood it up, and filled it up with junk. While we worked on the shed, a couple of us worked on the electric inside. Once that was finished, I subcontracted the insulation. It was nice to get something done when we weren't there, and honestly, that's a job that nobody was signing up quickly to do anyhow. With the insulation done, we could shift our focus to covering the walls. I brought some southern yellow pine nickel gap with me for the interior walls. We used cedar shake siding on the exterior, and we spent the next 3 trips working on those. I decided to hire out the installation and finishing of the hardwood floors. It was really nice when we had the insulation done by someone else, that something was getting done while we weren't there. Also, with the entire cabin cleared out for the installation of the flooring, it didn't leave us much room to sleep. And nobody wants to sleep in the fumes from finishing the floor anyways. So that brings us to today. The cabin is nearly done. I'm making cabinets here in Illinois to take with me, and we do have some trim to do, as well as the 2 bathrooms, which, as I say, that sounds like a lot. But what's next? When I purchased my property, I also purchased the one next door. That property is just under 5 acres, but it had a little house on it. It needs a lot of work. So we've still got a little bit of work to finish this one up. Whether you've been here from the beginning or just came on board, we're gonna do another one. So come with us. Thanks for watching.